Hey, Talia, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for coming on and accepting to do this little show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I get a lot of people ask about starting real estate, so I figured why the hell not?
yeah, exactly. Why don't we start a little with introducing yourself? You're in real estate. Maybe do you have a specialization and the area that you work?
So I'm a realtor in Sudbury. I deal mostly with first-time home buyers because I find I kind of connect with them more. And I also used to work for a law firm doing real estate. So I kind of know the process like very inside and out. So I feel with first-time home buyers, like I have that knowledge to really walk them through how it's going to work. So that's what I'd say I specialize in is mostly those first-time home buyers. But I work all throughout Sudbury, which is a pretty big area, but I like it.
Great. How did you become interested in real estate? Like, what was your first inkling on, well, real estate exists. I can do that as a work.
Yeah. So I'd say it was when I was working at the law firm that I mentioned before, since I did do like the law side of real estate. And so you do talk with all these agents, and over time, just kind of, I don't know, I started getting interested in it, I guess. And I decided that I didn't want to pursue law anymore. And real estate just kind of felt like a natural progression for me since it's something that I was already kind of doing. And I'm happy I did it. Here I am. And yeah.
So did you decide to pull the trigger? What was your first what would you say, like roadblock or your first difficulty that it made you step back a little bit and like, okay, it wasn't as simple as maybe as I thought.
Yeah, it's I'd say like the first time I had that was when I first got my license. So like you're working for months to like get your license so you can start selling, and then you finally do it and you're like, okay, now what do I do? you know, like it's not like you're all of a sudden licensed and then you've got a load of people waiting to buy a house from you, you know? So it's you gotta build yourself up to get that client base first, which you don't have right off the bat.
Do you feel that? Obviously, I've never taken the test, so I don't know what it includes. But do you feel that maybe it's lacking a little bit on the business side, on client acquisition and marketing, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so the whole real estate course like isn't about like anything that you're actually going to do with the job. It's no marketing, it's no dealing with clients. It's, it doesn't even really tell you like how to show a house properly. All that the course is like more so the law side, how to not get yourself sued, making sure you're representing yourself and your brokerage and your client properly. It's more of the legal side of it. So it's definitely lacking in every other aspect of real estate.
I see. And then I guess it's up to the brokerage that hires you to kind of teach you that stuff. Did you feel uh, not to throw them under the bus or anything? Some brokerages operate their own way; it's their business. But did you feel that they helped you out on that, or were you on your own and kind of figuring it out, googling it, basically?
I guess a little bit of both. My brokerage did provide me with a good amount of assistance, and but my brokerage has only been around for a couple years, so they're not like too big. I think they were at the time I started like still kind of figuring things out. Like I know now they have for new agents they'll have like a meeting every week, like as they're getting their license to try to like teach them different things every week. I think that would have been super helpful, but I didn't quite have that. But whenever I had any questions or any issues, like I know I could always reach out to my brokerage and they were always there to help me. And I've got a really good team that I work with. So they're very supportive in that way. So I figured it out.
So I did when I was like several years, I think 10 years back. I did the life insurance certification or license to sell
Okay.
insurance, and how that worked was basically the brokerage, their AGM or MGM. You have to be signed on to a brokerage before you can do the studying. Is that the same thing for real estate?
No, so for real estate, you can start your studies and then you get into to a certain point. I think it's I think it's before your last course. So you do 4 or 5 courses or whatever it was. And then at that point you have like, I think it's 6 months or something to get with a brokerage.
I see.
And then once you're with the brokerage, then you can do your last course. So, I mean, I guess, it's similar, but not entirely the same.
Okay. That leads to my next question, saying, how do you pick a brokerage? Like
Yeah.
how, like you're brand new, right? You don't know what's good, what's bad, what's a scam.
Yeah, really.
At least for me in insurance, a lot of scam, and I was
Yeah.
brand new, so I didn't know anything. Like
Yeah.
as a new person, talk us through the mindset of what you had to do to find out, choose the right brokerage, even if you didn't choose maybe the first one, right?
Yeah, so it's definitely hard. Yeah, as you say, there's a lot out there and some are better than others, but you don't necessarily know that right off the bat. So what I did is I interviewed a couple brokerages. Like you just have to call them up, and usually it's their broker of record, so kind of the person in control of the brokerage that you'll meet with. And just I had a list of questions just from research that I've done online about like what should you ask a potential brokerage, so it's important to find out like how much of your commission they're getting, or if they're charging you fees, all that back end stuff. Important to ask about if there are any training sessions, if there's any admin staff for you to like support you and help you with paperwork and stuff. So there's definitely a lot to think about, a lot to ask about, but I got really lucky. I just went out for, actually it ended up being going out for a beer with the owner of my brokerage, and we just really clicked, and it just felt right for me, so I knew it was a good fit, and it has been. So
What about your first home? Well, how did that go? Talk us through the
like
panic,
my
the
first
easiness,
sale.
everything.
Yeah. It was definitely very nerve-wracking. So my first house that I sold ever, I actually got as a lead from my office, and they send me a text. They're like, hey, like we've had this lady call the office. She's thinking about selling her home. Give her a call. And yeah, I'm just freaking out. Like, what do I say to this lady to get her to sell her house with me, versus all the other 100 of agents out there. But you know what? It went well. It went super fast, and I had my broker with me to like go over all the paperwork, doing it for the first time to make sure I didn't mess anything up. And yeah, it went well. So
That's great. And how about like obviously your first one, that's done. Now you have to start thinking, how do I get one each week or 3 each month? Or
yeah, exactly.
At the beginning, let's say from like your level of sophistication that you had in the beginning, the first few months, to what it is now, what has changed to do your best to try to stay, keep getting new listings?
Yeah. So it's definitely changed a lot. I am now very present on social media, where I try to be, as that is a big difference. In the beginning, I was just kind of like, I don't need to do that. Like, that'll be fine. And no, it's not. You need a social media presence, especially since so many other agents have one. If you're not putting yourself out there, then how are people going to find you? So that's probably my main thing that I've been really working on, getting better at capturing leads and responding quickly in real estate. Like your response time is like the most important thing. If someone doesn't get an answer, like if they send you a text, if they send you an email, if they call you, if they don't get an answer, they're just going to call another agent, and then you've lost them. So that's another thing too, organizing my time, making sure I'm always checking my phone, checking everything to make sure I haven't missed anything.
That's a tough one too right now. Like just observing with all the crazy real estate stuff that's been happening.
Yeah.
And I consider myself somebody who works hard, but then I start looking at real estate agents working 7 days a week and then nonstop people calling them. I've sold 2 properties before, and yeah, I've been the person that maybe texts or send a message at 8 p.m. and they still have to reply. And I'm like, oh geez, the organization and calmness that these people must have must be immense. So how do you have rules that you set yourself? Like not respond after a certain time, or do you set rules with people that you weren't following before? Because I'll give you an example. When I started my business, I was so eager, I would do anything. I bend over backwards, and some clients would literally call me at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
or text me at 4 a.m. because they saw competitors doing something different. But that was my fault, right? Because I set that precedence that they could do that. Is there something that you started doing that you notice really fast that, oh, wow, I really need to introduce boundaries because I kind of screwed up in the beginning?
Yeah. So I've been pretty fortunate that I haven't had to deal with anyone too awful.
Yeah.
And what I usually do is I won't answer like calls too early or too late, because like you say, I don't want to set that precedent that I'm gonna be on the phone with you at 6 a.m. But typically I do try my best to answer emails or texts, like no matter what time it is. I do turn my phone on silent like past 9 p.m. So it's not like a super priority, but if I check it and I see it, then I'll answer you, kind of deal. So I guess in that way it's a boundary. It's like, it's late now, unless it's super important, like this can wait until the next day, you know? And it definitely is important because to set some sort of boundaries, because yeah, as you say, if you just let people walk all over you and think that you're available 24/7, then they're going to treat you like that. And it's not good for your mental health to just always be on edge. You know, it's easy to get a little overwhelmed and feel a little anxious sometimes when like there's always people like wanting something from you. But I always just take a minute, and if I don't feel like in a good headspace for answering that particular request right then I'll take a little break and I'll answer them later. But usually I'm pretty good with it. It's all individual.
Okay. Is there something that you use for scheduling? Is there a tool that has just changed the way that you do things? Something that it could be an app, it could just be even a journal. Is there a tool that you use that changed your game since you were started?
Not really. No, honestly, not really.
Maybe you still haven't found it yet.
Yeah, maybe I still need it. I'm still looking for it.
Once you got your couple of sales and couple of listings, what were some of the biggest difficulties that you faced then, and how did you fix them?
So, which I'm sure you understand this, but the one of the hardest things with the commission-based jobs is you're not, like, even if the house is sold, you're not getting paid until months later, until everything's all wrapped up. So I think one of the biggest issues when I was like first starting out is budgeting, and because you start off, you just paid your couple $1,000s for all your courses, you've paid your couple $1,000s for all your fees and your insurance and all of that to get started, and then even if you do sell a house right away, you're not getting that money until way down the line. So so I guess that is the biggest obstacle that I've kind of had to overcome, and kind of learn to make sure that I spend my money in a way that I always have a little bit in case I don't sell anything for a couple months. Once you've got a good rhythm going and you have been selling things consistently, like you do always have, like, you have something coming in like every month or so on average, so at that point you can kind of relax a little bit. But then next thing you know, like you hit like a cold streak and you don't sell anything for another couple months, and you're kind of like, oh shoot, will I ever sell a house again?
Yeah, so budgeting, knowing that it's not a normal job that you can expect a paycheck.
No.
Unless you already have a rhythm, right?
Yeah. There's nothing certain with real estate.
How about I think that's a good point, budgeting, and knowing that if you even invest, because some brokerages pay for stuff. I'm sure you pay for your own videographer if you want to do the photos and all that stuff.
Exactly.
That has to be considered into your budgeting, right? Because
yeah.
Do you have a percentage, or do you go off the feel? Do you have some sort of way of thinking on how much you can invest into each house?
So typically I'll I don't want to go ahead and spend, $1,000 upfront and there's no even promise that house is going to sell. And guess what? If it doesn't sell, then you've lost all that money marketing for the videos, all that. So I usually go by kind of like a case by case basis. You know the market as a real estate agent, so you typically know how fast something is going to sell, or if it's one that like maybe is going to sit for a while or might not even sell. So maybe in that instance, you're not going to put as much money into it up front. Whereas if it's something you know is going to sell, I like to go kind of above and beyond, and because I have that kind of cozy blanket that I know I'm going to get paid in the end. So I don't mind going videos, drone photography, like virtual tours. I'll do like the whole shebang. Because I do like to provide like the best service and everything that I can. But so I guess it just really depends on the house and your situation. And you just gotta kind of trust yourself and go with your gut.
You'll know you'll know the area, you'll know, know what they're going for. You're like, okay. And what about, because you are a business yourself, right?
Yeah.
You are, obviously the goal of every realtor is to have their own brokerage, right? And how do they do that? Get enough reputation on your own name that you get so many leads that you'll have to hire other reps, right? That's the goal.
Everyone else.
Exactly. In your mind, or in your current state, do you invest into growing your own reputation? As in, not just, obviously you're trying to sell the house, so you invest into photos and videos and stuff for that house, but you have to do kind of the same thing for yourself, right? If you want to grow up your name. Do you invest in that, and do you see yourself investing in that?
I do invest in it somewhat, and I do plan to continue as I get more experience and kind of naturally grow my name. I'll start investing into it more, but right now it's pretty limited to just working on my social media, working on my website, and a lot of word of mouth. I want to make sure that I do really good for like the clients that I have, so that they want to talk about me with their friends, their family. Like if they know someone who's looking to sell or buy, they'll give them my name. I've got some Google ads running, stuff like that. But again, I don't want to go spend $2,000 on a big billboard right now with my face on it. I don't think that would be helpful for me and my business right now, but maybe in the future, perhaps you'll see this face.
To wrap it up, because I think you covered a lot of stuff, what do you think you would tell yourself now that you've got stuff going, to when you were just starting off?
I want to tell myself to have a little bit more of realistic expectations, I think, going into it. I think you see these videos on just like TikTok, for example. There's and they interview real estate agents, and they're like, what is your education? They're like, nothing. They're like, how much money did you make this month? They're like, oh, $60 million. And I feel like it's out there that real estate is easy money. It's quick, and it's not the case. You do have to work, and it comes slowly. And it is something, if you work hard at it, you can succeed, but it's not just an easy job. It has its ups and downs like anyone else. And I think just going into it, if I had a little bit more of that mindset, I perhaps would have had a little bit of an easier start.
Less disappointment, no? Because you didn't meet your goals.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add? And we can wrap it up.
Be nice to your real estate agent.
That's a good one. That's a very good one.
All right. Thanks for having me. And it was nice chatting with you. And
thank you, Talia. I'll let you know when it's out, and you can show it to whoever asks you about real estate.
Awesome. Will do. Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
So I'm located in North Bay, Ontario. I've been licensed now for just over 2 years. In North Bay, we can't really specialize in anything because our market is so diverse. There's a lot of residential, which is mostly what I focus in. But I do work with investors for multifamilies. We do have a commercial as well. And of course with recreational land. So we really have to be diverse, all of those types of markets. We can't really choose just one, although we can if we would like to. But with the North Bay market, there's just so many different options that you kind of have.
I see.
Yeah.
What was your first 2 years ago? What was the how were you introduced to real estate, and what was your first thought of, maybe I could do this for my career for?
So that actually happened about 6 or 7 years ago. So in grade 12, I was in a course called co-op. So all through high school, my original plan was to become a pastry chef. And I am also a certified pastry chef. That is what I went to post-secondary for. But in grade 12 for co-op, I discovered that what I was originally planning to do wasn't going to be what I fully wanted. It was more of a hobby. So I had to figure out what I wanted to do for a living. And so there's something called career cruising, which was a platform that you would answer a whole bunch of questions for. And then based on like what you like to do, what your best personality traits, and all that fun stuff are, my number one result was a realtor. I had never even thought of real estate as an option. And I had moved around so many times because I'm originally from Stony Creek, Ontario. I moved up to North Bay years ago. So I never really gave it any thought. And I was like, well, I moved around a lot. Like maybe this is something I can do. So the whole point of co-op is to find out if it's something that you would like to do as a career. So I then ended up getting a co-op placement at a real estate brokerage in North Bay. I worked there from 9 till 12 for 3 or 4 months. I then got hired on as a part-time worker to work weekends, and I think it was one evening. And I kind of just did some maintenance and also some marketing for the brokerage. Yeah, so then after that, I ended up getting hired. I then fully moved up to being the full-time director of marketing technology, as well as the broker assistant. Then, of course, my role grew bigger. I then became executive assistant. Later on, while in the process of working at the brokerage, I left to go to college to get my pastry chef. And then once I came back, I started working back at the brokerage and started working on a real estate license. You have to be over 18 as well to get your real estate license. At the time I was 17. So pastry chef was going to be my plan B in case I ended up not liking real estate. I love it, so I hope. Although I do love baking, it's more of a hobby. I'm really passionate about to do. So then 2 years later, I ended up getting my license, and here we are.
Very cool. So you got a sneak peek more than some people, then just decide to, you know what, I'm going to be a real estate agent. I'm going to go get my exam. So you kind of knew a little bit more.
Like it was much more helpful to understand the whole learning process, and especially once, because in the courses before it switched to Humber, it was a REIA. And of course, you learn all the fundamentals and all the laws, and but we weren't really taught how to write an offer, how to list a property. That's kind of something you have to learn once you actually get into it. And I kind of already knew all that, so I had a little bit of an advantage compared to people who are I already knew what that stuff looked like because I looked at that paperwork for years, which was really helpful when it came down to my own business.
So you started with a heads up. What was the transition the first month that, yes, you knew a lot more? What was your difference? We're going to say, like your first speed bump, the first challenge that you faced once you were an actual agent?
So the first challenge I had was my age, because I was the youngest realtor in North Bay at the time. Of course, now I am not, but at the time I was. And that was a really tough hurdle to get over because a lot of people think, oh, you're only 20, you don't know, or you're not seasoned like other agents. although I may not have been seasoned, I had the resources to help. I have a great broker of record who was there 24/7 to answer my call. There was times I was calling him at 11 o'clock at night for help. He was always reviewing my paperwork, so my clients were always supported in case for some reason I did something. And he was always there to help for if I needed questions. So although I may not have known all the answers right away, I had someone there behind help. And that also reassured me as well because they were giving me a chance, considering that I was brand new, but I still didn't know what I was doing and everything. My license, so they don't give that out to everybody. So he was there to help if I ever needed it, as well as my whole brokerage, who was always helpful, who were always there to answer my questions. But yeah, the real tough part was my age.
So would that be your advice for younger real estate agents that just starting out? Because I feel like everybody faces that. When you're young, you look young, even if you have a baby face like I do. And so I've faced that a lot. Is that your advice? Just have some sort of mentor, somebody that you can fall back on and just keep going?
Well, one of the things when you are choosing a brokerage is make sure that you have a great support. Don't do it based on money. You want to make sure that you have support there to help you, especially if you're new. Now, of course, it also depends how you present yourself to the public. A lot of people thought that I was much older than I actually was. For some people that just saw that I was 20-something, a lot of people have a negative perception of younger professionals. Although a lot of people think that I'm 27, 28, but realistically I'm 22, and at the time I was 20. So that became a surprise to a lot of people when they saw, oh, he's a lot younger than we originally thought he was, but it shows in his work that he actually knows.
And for some people, I see that at least in like the Toronto area, the GTA, they right away they feel insecure, obviously, because you don't know and you can't really know until you're doing it. And they go straight, to get the very expensive suit. They get, oh, I need the BMW or the Mercedes because real estate agents drive that, and I need to look the part. That for me rubs me the wrong way. What do you think about the saying, "Fake it till you make it"?
I personally don't like it. Of course, you want to be driving something. Like when I first got licensed, it was my first car. It got me from point A to point B. It wasn't that great looking, but I found none of my clients judged me on it. Now, of course, I wanted to get something a bit more professional looking. Now, I didn't get a Mercedes. I drive right now is just a Honda CR-V. I love it. It was one of my cars that I've always wanted. Not flashy, it's just professional looking, and as long as it gets me from point A to point B, that's all that matters. And especially with Northern Ontario roads, you want to get to point B. You don't want to get stuck getting to point B. Yeah, so I honestly, there are some people that may judge, but those aren't the clients that I'm wanting. Because if they're going to judge, then there's going to be some confrontation along the way, and we just may not get along. So there are some people that are like that. I myself am one of them. And in Northern Ontario, that is mostly for Southern agents. In Northern Ontario, people don't judge because I find it's much more laid back here. It's a bit slower pace, and they understand, like with our roads and everything. I'm not showing up to a country property Tesla where it could hit a couple potholes and I'm stuck in it.
Exactly. Yeah, for me, it's always been, well, it makes it's more sense if you're running a business. Your first thing, you don't want to invest in a car. Maybe invest in a little marketing, invest in something more.
Well, especially when you're first getting into real estate, you don't know when your next paycheck's coming. Like you go strictly just a commission. There's no every 2 weeks a paycheck. And the expenses start adding up. Like you want to make sure that you have at least 4 to 5 months of expenses saved up before you even get into real estate, because you need startup fees, which are around dollars. Then you need to figure out how much you need per month to live, because you may not have a closing for 5 to 6 months. When I got licensed, I had 4 months saved up. Thankfully, I did, because I didn't have a closing until 4 months after I got licensed. So although I sold a house within the second month of being licensed, I didn't get paid until 2 months after that, because as a realtor, you don't get paid until it closes. So you're realistically the last person.
Wow.
You don't want to be going out and spending $1,000 a month on a car when you don't know it.
Exactly. No, so I feel like you were a lot more prepared than most realtors. So good for you.
Well, and that's what I want new realtors to know is don't get distracted by the flashy items, because that's what a lot of people think realtors are like, is that lifestyle. And don't get me wrong, I was one of those people too, until I started to see what happens. And it's like, oh, if you want that, you gotta work really hard. You gotta be making this amount of money, because there's a lot more fees to become a realtor that people don't realize.
In your first 6 months, did you have a plan, strategy on how to get new listings?
I don't think I was really focusing on listings. I was more focused on buyers. Although I was trying to get listings as I could, and I did actually get 6 listings in my first year, and I sold 5 of them. And then eventually I sold the 6th one. But in my first year, that was one of the harder parts, getting listings. But I was told that my demographic would be buyers, because I'd be working with home buyers demographic and my sphere of influence. And one of the first things I did when I became a licensed realtor was message everybody that I know, just to let them know that I was licensed and I was there if they ever needed any help. It wasn't to sell myself or anything, because that was something else I wanted to be. I didn't want to be one of those salespeople, bugs, and bugs, because that's turned me off things from the pushy salespeople. I don't like to be pushy. Clients can make their decision. I don't need, oh, this, this. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, we move on. It's not something I'm pressuring someone into, because I don't want to be.
Okay. Right now, well, not right now. I guess in the first 6 months, first year, you don't really have the money maybe to invest in some sort of marketing, some sort of just put that kind of stuff. Was that
like
something in your mind?
So for me, like, I was a director of marketing and social media, so I was pretty creative, and I make all my own marketing. Now, although I have had a couple marketing agencies reach out to me, in your first year, and especially in Northern Ontario, where our commission amount isn't as much as, let's say, a realtor south, we don't have the ability to be able to spend around $10,000 for someone to do all our marketing. So you have to be creative in some ways with having your own marketing and just making sure that it's presentable. And there's a lot of resources that you realize. And also with being brokerage, brand, so realty executives, for example, we have our own marketing platform. So it comes with all templates. All you have to do is add your own little stuff to it.
I see. Would you suggest for people to kind of soak themselves in that kind of sphere, like learn a little bit, start doing it themselves?
It's always best to try and do it yourself. I mean, me, because I'm very picky, I'm a perfectionist, so sometimes I'll ask for something times till I like it. So it's better if I'm doing it myself. Now there will be other people that want to have other people do it because they may not have time, which is awesome. You want to be doing the stuff that creates you money. Although marketing does as well. Sometimes you would rather be showing clients houses or getting listings or stuff like that, where you can delegate that.
Right. Is there, now that you've been 2 years into it, is there some sort of advice that you would have given yourself or you would have liked to receive when you just started out?
Don't be scared of no. And if they say no, just ask why. Like there was many times where I was rejected for listing, and I was like, oh no, like why? And it doesn't hurt to just ask why. Like just ask, what could I have done to make myself better? And they'll tell you. They'll go, oh, maybe this, or oh, maybe that. Or sometimes it just wasn't the right fit. Sometimes people choose you based on your personality. So if your personality is just in a match, that could have been the reason why. And that's not something you should have to change. It just means that you move on to the next. You can't let that kind of stuff keep you from accomplishing other goals or accomplishing the other listing appointments. You just gotta keep going. You can, if it's something that you can work on it, and then hopefully the next one you get it.
Perfect. My last question would be, is there a tool that has helped you tremendously or a little bit, or is there a tool that you use every day that just your phone?
Every day. That thing becomes your best friend. But it can also become your worst enemy because you're constantly on. So you want a time block. Like I try to not start working until 9 a.m. Even if a client is calling me, texting me, emailing me, I try not to respond until 9 a.m. because that's my personal time where I don't have to. Because you are self-contracted, so you are your own boss. You don't ever really have like a block time of like, okay, 9 to 5. You're really working from 9 a.m. all the way to 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. if you're negotiating. So with real estate, you kind of have to create barriers when you have that time alone for yourself or for your loved ones or your spouse or your kid. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody else that I talked to said it's very hard in the beginning because you think you have to. You know? I don't want to lose the client. I don't want to lose.
Exactly. And that is still a fear of mine some days. But I always have to remember, because sometimes I apologize to clients and they go, don't worry, it's not a problem. We understand that you're busy or you have a personal life. And just hearing that just reassures you that, okay, it is okay to say, sorry, I can't today, I'm busy, or no, sorry, an hour doesn't work, I need time. People are understanding of that. It's just the scaredness of thinking like, oh my gosh, they're going to go somewhere else, or they're going to be mad at me, especially because I'm a people person. I like to please, I don't like to disappoint. So if I ever think, oh my gosh, they're going to be mad at me, when I start to think, okay, I need ASAP.
Is there anything that you'd like to add before we end the call?
Just make sure to take time for yourself. Don't let yourself get to your wits' end when you start to kind of neglect certain things, or you start to feel kind of like how you felt before you got into real estate, where you got up and you resented going to work. The perks of being in real estate is you get to create your own hours. If you want time off, you don't have to request it. Just always make sure that you have somebody in your office you can rely on to handle your business while you're away. Like last weekend, I took it off. I forwarded my emails and my calls to somebody in my office. I with them on Monday, and it was back to business as usual. And I sold a house while not working technically. So it works out. Like have somebody who's there to help you. Take the time off when you need it, and don't constantly make sure to take it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Austin. I think it's going to be very helpful for people.
Yeah, I hope so. Because I definitely needed to hear that when I first got into this.
I think it's going to be very reassuring seeing all these people that, they're working hard and they're making a life just reminisce of how it was.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for having me. This is great. It's awesome.
Thank you, Austin. And I'll let you know when it's out.
Awesome. Perfect. Have a good day.
You too. There you go. So why don't you introduce yourself, Madhu, and tell us where you live and what kind of real estate you do.
So I'm Madhu Baker. I live in Sarnia, Ontario, and I do mostly residential real estate, but I do a fair bit of agriculture and a little bit of commercial, and a lot of the recreational, because we live on the lake.
What was your first introduction into real estate, and why did you think, you know what, I'm going to dedicate my career into real estate now?
Oh wow, it's so my first introduction to real estate was probably like 20 years ago when I was working as a single mom, and I asked the real estate agent to help me find a place, and I told him what I wanted in a place, and he said to me, "You'll never be able to afford that, so I'll be wasting my time." Like literally, so I was pretty disheartened. I was like, oh my God, so that means I can never buy a house in Canada? Like, that's crazy, So that was my first introduction to real estate. Pretty harsh. And then my next introduction to real estate was when we were selling our house in London, Ontario. And the realtor we had hired, it seemed, didn't quite understand the marketing portion of it. It's funny, like when we bought our first home, my husband and I, the realtor, we literally had to drag him out of bed to go write an offer for us. We went to the open house and we're like, this is the home we want. And this is the realtor we had hired because my husband had promised his banker that he would hire her husband when he buy a house. And for me, it's like, okay, we have a plan, let's go get it. So we would message him and we'll get a message back like a week later, oh, sorry, that house sold. We'll drive by something, message him like days later, oh, that's sold. So I was just getting super frustrated. So we called him and said, hey, we found the perfect home. We want to buy it. And he's like, well, it's Sunday, could we wait till like Monday?
Wow.
Saturday, I'm like, no, if you're not ready to come and write that offer, we're actually going to buy it through the listing agent. My poor husband, he's like super polite and he's like, oh my God, like, I'm like, eventually you have to say, so those were my experiences with the realtor. And then we started fostering. I had the dream home that the first realtor told me that I could never afford in North London. We had, we were able to build a 3-car garage. We had a huge yard. We had like 8 kids living with us because we fostered kids. And it was beautiful. So I knew it was possible. So I knew if anybody ever asked me or shared their dream with me about their home, I would show them the way, how to get it, and not just shut them down and
Shoo
say
them away.
Exactly. Because, being an immigrant, maybe I knew I didn't have a lot of money then, but I knew how hard I could work. I knew how hard I worked before, and I knew I would get it. I just didn't do it with that, didn't have relationship with that agent. But what he didn't know at the time, I knew a lot of people that did have a lot of money. I'd never referred anybody to that agent because if you're not going to help me, why would you help anybody else? So when we sold our home, same thing, the realtor that we had hired, he was selling our home and also our rental property, and I was doing all of the marketing. I was hosting open houses, I was doing the marketing, and all my friends were calling me throughout the years, hey, we're thinking of selling the home. What can we do? Because I can do drywall, I can do painting, I can make things look beautiful. Right? Like your mom is amazing at some of that stuff. I've seen what she can do, right? So like as immigrants, we become resourceful because we had to work with what little we had.
So you were already doing the job without having even gotten your license yet. So when you got your license, was there a
So
big?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, when you got your license, what was the biggest issue that you faced in the first couple of months?
It may sound so odd. Nobody really tells you that when you get your real estate license and you join a brokerage, they're not giving you clients. They're not giving you leads. They're not giving you training either most of the time. And if I didn't have the life skills that I did throughout the years, because sales have been my passion my whole life, I'm passionate about finding the right product for the right people. So for me, my biggest shock was, okay, so I'm going to pay you all this money every month, but what am I getting in return? So I was like, it just doesn't sound right. But that's how it is. They're charging you huge percentage every month. You're paying desk fee every month to work for them. There's no other industry where you have to go work for them and you have to pay them to work for them. So I thought it was kind of odd because it was a shock. That's why so many realtors get their real estate license and they're not told that they're going to be paying the money, but there's no guarantee of the leads that are coming in. So you have to rely on your network. But we moved from London to a small farm in Wyoming, most people have never heard of. So not only
Wyoming, Ontario, yeah.
That's right, just outside of Petrolia. So I didn't have a network. I left everything in London, right? So and I had to get super creative. For me, I knew I wanted to work with a certain kind of people because I like making money, but I was driven by people. Who are the people that I can serve the most? And really, initially, it was like people like me that didn't get the service, that were bullied into the contracts and not fulfilled. So I thought I'm going to just volunteer in places where I will meet those people. So that's how I started. I talk to everybody. Because if I can help anybody, why not? It doesn't cost anything on my end. So I started volunteering at the elderly outreach. I was volunteering at different local organizations just to meet people. Right now, we'll talk to people and they would share with me, oh, we're thinking of selling a home. And they would ask for my opinion. And my thing was, oh, I'm so new, they're not going to hire me. That was my limiting belief. I'm so new, they're not going to hire me. But I had 20 years of sales experience, right? I understand how important it is to have a home. So every single client that hired me, and I was very honest with the first one, I met them actually at the home show in Sarnia, my first listing. And I said to them, I'm brand new to real estate sales, but sales are my business. I've been doing that for like 20 years. But also because I have nothing else to do, there is no better person for you to hire than me. Because my whole focus is going to be you. Yeah. Imagine, Alex, you are a first-time home buyer and an agent that you're hiring has 50 other clients.
Yeah.
how would that agent meet your need?
Yeah, because I'm thinking, if I'm a first-time home buyer, I'm probably going to be nervous. I'm probably have a million little questions that I think this is a stupid question, I'm not going to ask that. But if I have somebody like you were saying, that you're telling them, look, that you're the only one, I'm here for you, obviously I'm going to feel comfortable. Yeah. And that's amazing that you flipped it that way, because that would stop somebody. Oh no, they're going to say I'm too new, so I'm not even going to. The whole phrasing that I hate, because I fell into it when I was in my early 20s, faking it till you're making it. And I think that is complete BS. You don't have to fake anything. Just be yourself and put it out, and you'll find your first client somewhere.
Be honest and authentic. People respect you for that. People appreciate you for that. Right? Because people are not foolish. They know if you're fumbling. They know if I'm not 100% confident. But what I did promise them, anything that I don't know, I will make sure I have the best person answering the calls for us. I did rely on my broker at the time if I needed question, but the real estate industry is beautiful. You don't have to ask and look for an answer from your personal brokerage if you don't have the confidence. You can ask any realtor in the industry and they will help you. They may not share all their little secrets as to what got them success, but they will help you. So that was important. So the first 6 months, I was super dedicated to learning about my market. I was dedicated in helping other agents, other successful agents. Honestly, it's like, I don't need to get paid. I'm learning and I'm grateful for you for giving me this opportunity. What can I do? What can I do for you? Can I go do a showing for you? Like, tell me what you want me to do. Right? And anytime somebody asked me to look at a property, I did so much research. It was crazy. But here's the beautiful thing. I still do the same amount of research for every property. Because what got me success then, Alex, this was crazy. I would be up against, I would be in competition with guys and girls that have been here 25 years, 30 years. They have big business, they have a big name. And we would do the market analysis and presentation. People were blown away with my presentation. They knew I took time. They knew I listened to their need. They knew, and not because I was telling them, because I was showing them. Right? And so that's how the first 6 months, it didn't matter if I didn't get the listing. If somebody said, we're just thinking, we're not sure, we might do it in 5 years. No problem. This is giving me a lot of good practice. I appreciate you for giving me that chance for practice. Seriously.
So you were out working people. You weren't weighing the chances. Oh, am I going to get the sale or not? You were just, my thing is, I'm going to put in all the effort and people will know me as this person. My reputation will grow day by day.
Yeah. And it did. Like, is that my hair? It did grow day by day. It didn't happen overnight, but my first listing I went there and I cleaned their home. I couldn't afford a photographer, but I wanted top quality photos. I bought myself a good quality camera and I spent probably 50 to 100 hours on YouTube learning how to do good quality photos. Right? Because it's important. I went on YouTube again and learned how to do Facebook ads. I was the first person probably in our marketplace doing virtual showings for homes. Why not? The first 6 months, I actually learned what are the apps I need. Like, if you're familiar with my area, we are a small community and we're kind of spread out, even though our numbers are small, like from Sarnia to Petrolia to Sombra to Arcona, like it's spread out. And I wanted to make sure that I did have the right tools. So I used to have that plug-in printer and plug-in fax machine with me. Because you have to get creative. I'm not going to drive an hour to write an offer and then drive an hour to find a fax machine to fax the offer to another agent. Or if you're in competition, you have short window. Sometimes I had like 5 minutes left to send an accepted offer. If I was beyond that 5 minutes, I would have lost the deal. So you get super, super dedicated to your work, to your clients. Know that they're trusting you, know that they're counting on you. And I made mistakes along the way. But you know what? The minute I found out the mistake has been made, my first call was to my clients. Not to hide it. I knew they could have fired me, but I wanted to make sure they knew the mistake has been made. Thank God, nothing was ever dire and we could fix it, but I always knew how I was going to fix it, but I wanted to participate in it. It wasn't going to cost them financially, but still they need to know, right? So just be honest with your clients. They deserve that from you. It's their right. It's not that they deserve it. It is their right. When somebody hires us to take care of them, they really need 100% honesty from us. And sometimes it's saying, I'm not the right person for you.
What's something that right now, you've been in the market for a while now, what's something that you would go back to yourself personally and advice that you give yourself?
Oh my goodness. If I could go back to then, I would have done a few things. I would have hired an assistant long time ago. I would have started a database. I would have started. I loved my clients always, but they didn't always know it because I got busy and I didn't have time. Right? So I would make sure if I could go back and give the advice to my 10-year younger self, put systems in place that show your clients that you love them. Not just think it, but actually do it.
Okay.
Right? And I wish I had found a mentor like myself or somebody else that could say, because every time I would call at the time, my broker, hey, I've got this new listing and I'm so excited and I don't know what to do. I was told, well, why don't you give it to such and such agent?
Wow.
And they'll give you a referral. But I'm not learning. How is that helpful for me as an agent? You know what I mean? Like I'm running a business. I need to know. Nobody ever sat down and say, hey, start a team or hire an assistant to help you do these things because you're doing the work of somebody who is probably better suited to do that job, not you. Your expertise are negotiating, your expertise are marketing, your expertise are really putting strategies together for your clients. Okay. Right? So those are the things. If you want to grow, you can't grow, but you got to start early. I wish somebody had taught me all of that stuff. I wish there is a course in accounting or running a business for real estate college, because so many people get into the business not understanding the cost of running a business. Like, I'm fortunate. I've always ran my own businesses just by the sheer need because I grew up in India and I was exploited many times by employers. So I'd always ran a business. Right? And also I wish people had, I even wish today that the older realtors would stop saying all buyers are liars. All sellers are hiding things. How can I serve you at the highest capacity if I believe you're going to lie to me? Mm-hmm. This is such a fundamental divide if I believed my buyer is going to be lying to me. You know what I mean? So we need to trust. And the reason people don't trust realtors because they've had poor experiences. Right? So we as an industry is also responsible to make sure that we show up professionally, that we respect our clients, that we protect their trust, because they share with us information that most people don't share with anybody. My clients share with me, their financial situation, their marriage situation, their children's situation, their emotional situation, their spiritual beliefs, right? We have so much information on our clients. And if we believe they're going to lie to us, there is a fundamental divide, right? Even if my client is lying to me, I have a choice. I can leave, right? But I cannot break that trust. It is a legal contract. I cannot break the trust of a client. My fiduciary duty is to protect you,
Right.
not to judge you. You could be rich, you could be poor, you could be gay, you could be lesbian, you could be heterosexual, you could be transgender. It's not my job to judge you. It's my job to protect your interests. And it's not enough to say, well, I didn't know. No, the law says as a professional, I need to go seek that information for you. So I'm sorry, I get super
No, it's
super,
okay.
super heated and passionate about this subject because I've been at both ends. We all have.
So I think your advice would be, introduction into some policies, procedures, more acting like a business, so you can take more of your time away from the little things that could have just freed you to doing the things where you can maximize. So yeah, that's a really good one. Is there anything now that, because I think you've answered yourself all the questions that I had, so that's pretty good. Is there anything that you're looking forward, that you really invest in your time and your money now for the future in real estate?
Yeah. So right now, where I'm investing my time and money, it really is helping realtors transition from the old business model where you work till you die because we have no pension, no mentorship, to can we have a culture where we're working and we're supporting and we're mentoring other agents and their hard work is supported with long-term revenue, so they don't have to work till they die. As all these agents that are getting older and they have this wealth of knowledge, there is so many incredible agents out there. The reason they don't share a lot of that information because they're afraid that they need that business. If they're going to share everything with you, then they don't have that business. But the reality is we need their wisdom. So those agents can actually share their wisdom with the younger agents and still get paid forever. So that's the business model I'm excited about and promoting. So when you're looking for let's say, today if I got my real estate license, in order to practice real estate, you have to be at a brokerage. What I would want to know is, does this brokerage have scalability? Could I transition from here to Toronto today and not have to change my branding? Could I move from here to Vancouver and not to have changed my branding? Because life changes. We have sometimes zero control. Even though we think we do, we don't. Life will happen whether we like it or not. What we control, how we pivot. Right?
Reaction.
As long as we pivot, we'll get there. Don't lose the momentum. Second tip I have for the realtors that are just starting, doesn't matter what brokerage you join. Find out what are their fees, how is this supported, what is the mentorship look like? Are they going to get solid mentorship from top agents? Not managers, because managers are not selling. Not a coach, the coach is not selling. Coach can help you with the attitude. Mentorship comes from people that are in the field, killing it. Are they going to share their secrets of the business? If not, run. Because I tell you what I am, all of the 1% of realtors, 1 to 6%, all the icon agents, we teach other agents what we have learned for free. That's part of our culture, right? Because I can't learn something from somebody who's not sold real estate in 20 years. They might be coaching, but they're not selling every day, so they don't run into the same problems. So that's one thing. Anytime you move to a real estate company, don't switch your email address. Keep your email address, because what if you don't like it? Always keep a separate database of your clients. What if the company that is running your website goes out of business? Because those are invaluable things. Nobody ever talked to me about that. Nobody ever shared.
That's actually brilliant. Yeah, you're so right. Does that
Right.
is something so little?
But that's gold. My database is a gold mine, Alex.
I mean,
When
just think about it. Why does Facebook not charge anything? Because all that data, that's how they make billions. Yeah, you're completely right.
Exactly. Right? Each one of my clients has referred me business for at least $100,000. How would you treat somebody who was worth 100,000 or $1 million to you? Right? And I'm learning that now. I'm like, oh my goodness, why didn't somebody like teach me that? Because brokerages don't care. Right? They don't care as long as they get their money.
Yeah.
They don't care that whether you're super successful or not. They just need to keep getting more people.
No, I think that's perfect. I think
Right.
we're going over our time, so you're gonna be overshadowing everybody else on the 15-minute show. So, but it was very incredible.
I hope it brought some value to you.
I think to me, and I think it's going to be tremendous for young realtors that watch it. I mean, the one that stood out the most to me is you saying that everybody at the top 1 to 6% really want to teach, right? And that in psychology and just in a simple understanding makes sense, right? Because everybody at the top is living a life of abundance. They're not scared of their next meal. They're not trying to get something. They're living a life of abundance. They know that down the road they have endless opportunities, and when you know you have endless opportunities, you're not trying to scam anybody, screw anybody over, or hide your little secrets. That, let's be real, all your little secrets that you have are already in Google, so
Exactly.
might as well just
Exactly. But and one more thing, gold is in the follow up. And please, 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 all the future realtors, remember, when a client is upset, go and ask them what happened. Don't just disregard it. I've had so many times, and it was such a misunderstanding. Sometimes their previous experiences led them to believe that all realtors are going to steal from them. And when I showed up, I said, you know what? No, I'm here as your representative. This is nonsense. We're not going to put up with this. Let's go. Some of my most difficult clients have been my biggest advocate, because giving up is not my nature. It's okay, you're not going to hire me. That's fine. I wish you well. And truly do mean it. Business will come. Like, I have so much business and I'm so grateful. Thank you. Not complaining. But everybody has the same opportunity. Everybody has the opportunity to do as much business as they want. Our attitude towards others and ourselves limit us. And people can reach out to me. I'm super easy to reach. And if I can help guide anybody, I'm here. And I teach classes in our EXP cloud. And you don't have to be an agent here to learn that.
We'll add all your
simple class.
information. That's perfect. Thank you, Madhu.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's
Thank
gonna be
you.
good. It took a little bit because all these realtors are really busy, and I understand. But I'm really glad that I put in all. I think it took over a month to get everybody, but I think it's gonna be good. It's gonna be really good.
I'm excited. Please let me know when you have it ready. In any way I can support you. I'll be happy to give you a shout out and connect you with other realtors in, actually in Oakville. One of my business partner, he is in Oakville. He owns Dunshire Development,
Hmm.
and they use a firm from London. And they're going to be putting together a project in Niagara Falls for like 22 homes.
Wow. Good.
So I don't know if there is any sort of synergy that might happen there. I'll be happy to connect you with them.
Yeah, I'm happy to work with whoever and show what we have now.
That's so exciting. Thank you so much. And please give my love to your mom.
Yes, I'll let her know. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Al.
Well, thank you, Madhu, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.